How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper, and my goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading whether the price is going up or down. ETH developer announces plan to launch new Holli testnet later this year. A prominent ETH developer is announcing a new testnet for smart contract platform to launch later this year. ETH developer Tim Bako says that Holli, a new testnet, is planned for launch as a means of helping validators, node operators, stakers, and miners. There's no miners, so I'm not sure how they're going to help them. Testnets help three distinct groups of users: client developers, application developers, and node operators, stakers, miners. But the needs of each of these groups are quite different. Here they say the needs of each of those groups, if you want to pause and read real quick. He goes on to say that the Ethereum Foundation has already solved issues related to stakers and client developers with previous testnet launches, and notes that Holli, which has no specific release date, will be tailored to onboard application developers. The main question is, how do we get application developers easy access to testnet ETH, and if we move to a new testnet, how do we get major projects to move over to allow for composability? A new testnet Holli is planned to launch later this year, and hopefully they can figure this out before it's ready to launch. Solana stumbles again. No big shocker there. If you were around 2022, I think they paused like 8 times last year, so that's why I don't like Solana. Infrastructure operators on the Solana network rushed to the right of the struggling blockchain early Saturday, right after a tech issue. God dang, that dude. Throttled users' ability to trade crypto to transfer assets or do anything on-chain. The blockchain started forking, creating conflicting versions of its transaction histories around 1 a.m. New York time, according to Solana's Discord server. Shortly after that, validators' RAM began increasing while the chain's transaction throughput fell off a cliff. Those tech troubles combined to effectively freeze nearly all on-chain activity on the Solana network. By 2 o'clock, the network was processing about 93 transactions per second. I think they fell to like 15 at one point, where they had 5,000 transactions per second 50 minutes prior to that drop. It was a crisis reminiscent of the train's rocky tech incidents in 2022, when the series of halts and slowdowns prompted reforms on how Solana manages inbound traffic. Validator operators and network engineers suspected a bug in the new version of the code that came online hours before, but they couldn't define the bug and began to downgrade to the previous version in hopes to revive the throughput, said pseudonymous Soulblaze, who runs a liquid staking pool and is an active developer in developer circles. Jeez. Their Solana employees began advocating for the downgrade too, but did little to solve the unknown problem because they just downgraded instead of found what the problem was. So Solana didn't come up with any solution. That's one major reason why I quit going to them, because they'd have issues and then they'd revert their chain and come up with no solution to what the issue was. Citizens trust bank to hold $65 million in USDC reserves as Circle expands bank partnerships. On Friday, the cryptocurrency firm and stablecoin issuer Circle announced that the financial institution Citizens Trust Bank will hold $65 million in USD coin cash reserves. Circle said the move is part of the company's plan to allocate shares of the stablecoin's denominated reserves to minority-owned depository institutions and community banks across the United States. But the IFM might not want this to happen. We'll get in that article at the very end of this segment. Additionally, Circle announced last November that it is working with BlackRock to manage a portion of the USDC reserves in a fund registered with the US SEC. The opportunity to maintain a portion of Circle's ongoing USDC reserves means we are strengthening our balance sheet and becoming a key part of fast-growing new markets, Cynthia Nday, President and Chief Executive Officer of Citizens Trust Bank, said in a statement. Circle also announced on Friday it will collaborate with Citizens Trust Bank to enhance financial literacy incentives. They're just getting with BlackRock, one of the big two groups that control everything. Not a good move, really. The company said that it's developing plans to expand programming into the community through Atlanta's historic HBCUs and local schools, with a launch event slated for this summer and a $100,000 seed grant from Circle. I'd rather see them get in schools and do grants rather than join up with BlackRock, as BlackRock and Vanguard are two companies that own everything, and they're pretty much what's wrong with everything. IMF against making crypto legal tender. This article won't let me highlight because Fox is great. The International Monetary Fund is recommending that countries not give cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin status as legal tender. The IMF said action is necessary after the collapse of several crypto exchanges and assets over the last couple of years. The top recommendation from them was to safeguard monetary sovereignty and stability by strengthening monetary policy frameworks and do not grant crypto assets official currency or legal tender status. IMF came out against El Salvador in 2021 when they became the first to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. If anyone was around for that, you remember how much everyone just ripped on them and continued to try and rip on them for that. So, onto the charts. So yesterday we got this manipulation X to actually print. We have a long lower shadow candle, which could be indicative of the end of the downtrend or a reversal, as it is a hammer candle here. Our VWAP is starting to head up, even though we did try to head down, as sellers tried to push us into this lower zone. However, they failed to hold us in there, and we bounced back. We did bounce, let's see. For this, we did bounce back above the high value area, so we did not come below it, so that's a positive sign for us staying above this previous range that we had. Our stochastic looks like it's starting to curl, so if that curl can happen, we can start to gain more momentum on the RSI, and that can start to pick up. Our money flow looks like it wants to start to curl up. Our momentum wave, however, looks like it's about to try and cross on this bigger wave. The other wave looks like we could start to curl, so we might get a little bit of a peak in here and then a little bit of a curl, which could set up a not divergence here, but we have divergences on lower time frames. Over on the 4-hour, we have that double green dot here, and we have a green dot on our RSI. Our stochastic's heading up, but our money flow did peak into the red, so that is one little concerning thing on the 4-hour. VWAP did try to break down too, however it touched neutral and bounced up, so that is positive. Our momentum's coming up, so if our money flow can start to come up, that would help us start to continue these positive signs. Otherwise, if that money flow continues to come down, we could see everything start to curl over and we may retest this area. If we look at the 2-hour, that's where we have a little bit of a bullish divergence as price went down slightly and our momentum wave came up. We have a green dot that printed a candle ago, so you want to see how this candle goes. If we manage to keep going up from here, that would be a positive sign. Our VWAP is heading up, so medium term that's good. However, the trend on the 2-hour is in the red with the money flow, so we'll want to see money flow start to head up. If we take a peek at the 1-hour, you can see money flow is trying to head up. However, we tried to head up several times today, so just don't get too excited until you actually see us break. We do have this divergence that happened, however there is a red dot here that's trying to invalidate this green dot, so sort of conflicting on the 1-hour, but I don't go too much on the 1-hour for signals. If we look over at graph, we did break just below this pattern that we had yesterday, so safe to pretty much call it over. It could be more of a bear, somewhat of a bear flag as we came here. So if we're not able to gain momentum and break out of this range, we could see a possible breakdown to 11 cents. Our money flow is heading up, so that is a positive sign. We did have that manipulation X yesterday, We have a hammer candle here, just like Bitcoin, so that's a positive sign. Our money flow is peaking, like I said we could see Bitcoins do, so it's hopeful that we would start to roll over on our momentum wave. VWAP is trying to head back up after breaking down, and our stochastic still beat up. Over on the 4 hour, stochastic starting to finally head up. Money flow is pretty beat down. We did get a double green dot, so that is a bullish sign for our momentum, but our momentum's not really curling too strongly. And our RSI is bouncing off that neutral zone, so that's a slight positive sign. There's a bullish engulfing candle here on the 4 hour, so that could be a bottom signal that could indicate that we could head up and test this resistance. Over on the 2 hour, we have a bullish divergence slightly highlighting. Really had to zoom in. That would have been a hard one to kind of notice without this highlight here. Our money flow is starting to head up pretty sharply on the 2 hour here, so that's a positive sign. VWAP's heading up pretty sharply, so we could get a decent play out. This is a bullish candle pattern on the 2 hour too, as we have a big red candle, a doji candle, and a big green candle. Usually that's a bottom signal, but I wouldn't take that solely alone. Our stochastic's heading up pretty strong. RSI bounced through that neutral zone, so hopefully we can hold into this bullish zone now and keep moving up from here. If we look over at XRP, the daily, we're bouncing right along this line where I have for that shoulder, so that is a little concerning. Our money flow is trying to head back up, so that is a positive sign. I wish Bitcoin and the other coins were doing that. VWAP's heading up pretty strongly, and our momentum wave's curling up a little strongly. So XRP seems to be sort of front running like Bitcoin and some of these other coins. Our 4 hour, our momentum wave's curling up a little stronger. Might actually have a divergence form here on the 4 hour momentum wave. Our money flow did break bearish, so that is a sign that the trend could turn bearish. However, our stochastic's heading up. RSI is bouncing along that 30 zone, so we'll want it to break above and keep moving. We'll need that stochastic to head up a little stronger to give us that strength to do so. Our VWAP is starting to head up, so that is a bit of a positive sign as well. If we look at the 2 hour, we have the same divergence here. We have another divergence on our stochastic. And we have a green dot on our RSI. Money flow is trying to break that neutral zone. So like I said, we're kind of front running here. Maybe if we break this neutral zone on XRP, that'll be an indication on before Bitcoin and graph breaking through, but we'll have to see. XRP is trading slightly different. Our VWAP is coming up, and that is pretty bullish. So our momentum wave's coming up. We might be able to break up as long as our money flow doesn't break back under. Yeah, it's just touching that neutral zone, so hopefully we don't just roll over here. And finally, let's take a look at algo with our ascending channel we broke out of. We might make a bounce off this point of control that we have. So this would be a good area for a bounce. If you took a short, it would be a good area to take profits. Stochastic is coming down, RSI is coming down, however our VWAP's heading up, and our momentum wave might start to curl up here as it's starting to kind of peek through. 4 hour, we have a green dot, then validated a red dot, but our money flow did peak red as well, so be cautious. Stochastic slightly heading up, and our RSI is kind of against this neutral zone, so be cautious with that as well, as if we fall under, then we would break and have more bearish leaning pattern, or bearish leaning, I can't think of the word right now. We'd be more bearish than bullish because of that. So over on the 2 hour, we do have a bit of a divergence that could start to highlight here maybe in the next candle, but our money flow is overall coming out. We'll want that to start to round off and head up. VWAP is trying to head up, so hopefully this money flow can turn around. Stochastic's coming up pretty strongly. Our RSI did break through that neutral zone on the 2 hours, so 2 hours looking alright, but we'll need money flow to start to head up. So maybe if we see it head up in XRP and then Bitcoin, maybe then Algo can head up, as the money flow seems a little more beat up on Algo than Bitcoin and the other coins right now. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a wonderful night.